Good evening, good night, and welcome. This is another one shot. Tonight's episode will be entitled In Memoria as Veritas et Tristitia. And I am your humble storyteller, Nobody, your number one fan, and a boundless, hopeful adherent to the idea that you might enjoy what we play through tonight. Thank you, as always, for your time, your effort, and your energies. And now, we simply await our other players. Thank you. Good evening. How we doing? So, a very short while ago, a few weeks, we did a quick one-shot entitled A Year Later. Tonight's one-shot is entitled, as you all, I'm not sure if anybody paid attention to Fate Casting Lots. Oh wait, I didn't go there. Where did it go? Ha. That is interesting. Maybe I didn't hit enter. Let me see if I didn't hit enter. That would explain it. So let's go ahead and hit enter on that. Tonight's episode is entitled In Memoria as Veritas et Tristitia, which the translation actually means in memory there is truth and sadness. A lot has happened in and around Chicago, from all of the troubles and turmoils in the contiguous South Suburban to the troubles across the border in Indiana, to the myriad of whispers and shadowy influences of things that were happening in Milwaukee. To say that the rumors and gossips of the werewolf Jesus were a little bit overwrought. Everyone was attaching, certain members of the Society of Knights were attaching their hopes and their dreams to the idea of a savior to reunite and take control of the Garu nation, to make them a force to be feared and served once more. A getting back to the good old days, the bad old days. That sentiment wasn't solely trapped within the body politic of the Lupines. With all of the turmoil of the modern zeitgeist, the rebellion for rebellion's sake, the insanity wrought as normalcy, it was very much a sentiment across the width and breadth of the entire societies of night, be they kindred or lupine or otherwise. There was that clarion call to the past, to the former status quo, to the good old days, the nostalgic days of past and yore. In that seething bed of discontent with what is, the shelter, like all things preyed upon by time, reached their end. Officially, each of the members diving into their own personal politics, each of the members chasing their own dragons, each of the members seeking their own idea of, if not happiness, at least complacency. And while we have an idea as to what that means for Hestia, we do not have an idea as to what that actually means or meant for Miriam.
Well, let's see. So for Miriam, that would look like probably advancing what little bit of status she had earned in the Camarilla. Continuing on that line, she was with the shelter working on resurrecting some of the more lucrative aspects of the blood discos under sanction. So she would probably continue to do that.
And
of course, her trade.
And in her estimation, what directly under her auspices, under her ability to reach out and touch those members who need that release in their life, there is a certain undeniable pleasure that comes from being involved and around those of a like mind, those of a varying bit of passion, but a similar passion as to put that as primary in their existence, whether it's just for a night, for a month, for a week, sharing a thing because it is important to each and everyone involved of a level. Some pish tush it and poo poo it as echo chambers, some call it all other manner of things, but the truth of the matter is there's a fellowship when you all know that you all's passion, your shared hobby and avocation is appreciated and respected with the same value of being placed high enough in the level of wants and needs that it seems the same from a distance. So for Miriam, in helping and rebuilding and pulling the idea of the blood disco solely out of being a Gnostic worship of the Baham, what was important for her?
For her, it would be similar, a way to release, but she had taken a turn towards the more peaceful, more quieting the beast inside, and that is probably where this really works for her.
Excellent. And with Hestia having taken on the responsibilities of a magister of a regent rank, which is a unbelievable, impossible dream, because the position of regent makes you god to all of the Tremere of a particular chantry. What you say, you are in fact the elders, you are in fact the elder, you are in fact the life and death for those other Tremere beneath you. However, the impossibility of it all is that here in Chicago, being considered a regent and being given a place of worship, or earning a place of worship, or building your sanctum and building your particular chantry level institution is a rank. It is not you have a chantry to yourself and you're the chantry of the city. No, here DuSable has managed to garner enough support within the Tremere for the regent rank to be technically 3 steps below where he is. It is the highest ranked mystery that many will ever dream of, and yet here it is just another in a line of mysteries, because he is the regent of regents. He is the primary god of gods here. He has built his own quorum of regent level Tremere, and not to put too fine of a point on it, Ananda is the only actual Tremere who falls solely under your guidance. Her future and her learning in respect of your position, it's all in your shoulders. There's no distractors. There aren't any long, rambling interactions with the Hakata, the Castiglione, and Tories. There is no feuding with the gang up the street since you've made peace. There aren't even any swattings from the police and the neighborhood calling for your shuttering of the shelter. Where does that place Hestia?
With all most of her focus being allowed to be on running the shelter, in truth, and helping Ananda get to the position that she was promised, that would be her focus. She would invite Ananda into more of her private space whenever she wasn't working directly on the shelter and start teaching her what she was meant to teach her. She would start working on the rituals and levels that she needs to pass this next mystery and make their mutual enemy eat his words, basically. So that's her focus.
Nice. So on an average night in this new normal, on another mildly just below blistery Chicago evening, the sounds of people in the midst of doing their best to find a way to do more than simply survive. The sound of sirens in the distance, trains echoing off buildings miles away, the sound of the lake lapping against the rocks and against the shoreline. What do you believe Miriam and Hestia would be up to?
I know for a fact Hess has books down, spread out across the table, ritual components, whatever she might need to teach. And they've got Ananda, like, she tries not to be like a hard ass when she's teaching. She's just like, okay, I know this will. She's tried to figure out how best Ananda learns and then go.
Okay. And just as a approximation of that teaching style and how well it's actually being absorbed, or better yet, how it's not being challenged, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your intelligence plus leadership. And while that roll is happening, Miriam, it's a lovely Thursday just before a prime party weekend. Most people have 3, some have 4-day weekend ahead of them. There's a common understanding that even if you work the weekend is still the weekend. And so there's a excited nostalgia pointing towards the greatness that this weekend could be, even if, and more than likely, it is exactly like last weekend. Where does that have Miriam?
She would, in that case, likely be preparing whatever rooms are necessary for that, sending out invites confirming attendance from the echelons of power. Yeah, probably not a whole lot more than that.
Okay, so moving through things and setting up parties and what have you. For that, would you be so kind as go ahead and roll your wits plus etiquette? Because you want to make sure that everyone who deserves to be on the list is, and everyone who shouldn't be on the list doesn't know the party exists. Because there's nothing more fraught than having a pissed off kindred who feels they have nothing left to lose. You took it from me! How dare you! And you give them a reason to continue on with their existence. You give them a reason to hide all of their pain in the simulacrum of your face. Kindred can be petty. They can be childish. And most importantly, unfortunately, they can also be very dangerous.
Sorry, I'm trying to find my.
No, understandable. There should have been a sheet in your channel. Was it not visible? Okay, let's see if there is... Ah, there we are. Okay. So, some things become muscle memory. Some things become a matter of rote. A matter of just practiced absent-mindedness. You could do it with your eyes closed, just like driving to work in the morning for most people. It is something that they do only half aware of what it is that they're doing. Both of you all in your present situations are not working off of muscle memory. You are absolutely 100% aware and conscious of what you are doing and driving towards the goals of your choosing, and doing so with such an aplomb that the idea of failure is in fact in this particular moment an impossibility. All of the right elders, all of the right harpies, all of the right up-and-coming Ancilla who are working their way into officially being recognized, all of the individuals to whom you would not want enmity, and all of those who are beneath concern are where they should be in your lists and your rosters. Their preferred victim types, their preferred conversation types, their preferred music, all of those things melding and moving through you out into the ether. And for Hestia, despite Ananda's decidedly bad girl of Gary disposition, despite Ananda's purposeful stymieing of her own success due to her anger at the situation, despite all of the heartbreak of realizing that Regent Rose was not her friend. Regent Rose, while nominally her ally, was never in her corner. He was fattening her up like the Christmas pig. All of those things acting as roadblocks which should normally cause her to crash and burn, to cause your lessons to fall on deaf, dumb, and blind ears, have been swept aside in the presenting of this particular lesson. They have been of no factor on her being able to absorb what it is that you are conveying. And in the midst of this success, in the midst of this, getting to your truer self, your more successful version of you. And it's always a problem when Hestia, you receive the soft rap on the door of someone who needs your attention, doesn't want to disturb you, but is unwilling to go away. While most people, it would be raised voices or screams of pain or profanity yelled at the top of a voice that would cause you to come running. The quiet insistence does that for Hestia in this moment. The peace is broken in the way of an iceberg sloughing off into the ocean. It seems like it's slow, and from a distance you don't hear the thunderous crack, but watching that slow shearing of ice the size of skyscrapers falling into the ocean, it looks as if it's happening in slow motion. It sounds from a distance like it's quiet, but the truth of the matter is the peace has been disturbed in a way that is, well, life-changing. And Miriam, unfortunately, a similar situation for you. Baby Chorus is a local, several generations over, God amongst gods when it comes to connecting with the public. Most of their members were loosely on the invite list. There's one in particular that you invite out of decorum, but you know that he will never show up. Because when he is not with Baby Chorus, when he is not booking shows, making plans, practicing, he is in fact the sheriff of Chicago. He is the poster child for what free-thinking young kindred once were. He was a hero during the War of Blood Red Moon and during Miriam's sojourn with the shelter as a singular entity, as a monolithic gossip mill. He was the face of things actually hitting the fan. And as Damien enters your party space, you sitting there with a banquet filled with embroidered invitations for the kindred that need to go out and finalizing the list, and everything's moving according to plans. You have the right tablecloths, because there are a difference in tablecloths. Most people don't pay attention to those small little details, but the tablecloths that you need to be moisture wicking and stain resistant. They also need to be of a sufficient thread count as to feel like silk, because there are a number of toreador who, if they were served on anything save something silvered or platinumed, or they were sitting at a table, even if you have their preferred victim, they were sitting at a table with the most beautiful of waifs, and they happen to run their fingers across the rough shod cloth of cotton or man-made materials, they'd have a shit fit. So you found the right tablecloths that pass muster. They appear to be silk, to the touch, to the scent, to the taste, as you've caught more than one of the illustrious members of the upper crust of Chicago kindred having a few strands in their beard or down their gullet. Because when their beast lets loose in a place where they can actually act towards excess, they often do. So seeing Damien there waiting for you is a sign of not the apocalypse, but there's already happened and you've survived it without realizing it.
She will look up from her musings. Evening, Damien. Business or...
I wish I could say it is business solely, but if you are successful, it will be a pleasure to finally close at least this last chapter of what the shelter owes the city. You got an hour?
I'm free till tomorrow. Have a seat. She'll gesture towards an empty chair beside her.
No, we gotta get to a motel. Come on.
All right. She'll smile and stand up. And
You've all done pretty well since that fiasco last year, so it is not with any pleasure that I have to invite you and have you do this. Just know that. And while across town, in what Chicagoans call the North Pole, the Rogers Park neighborhood where the shelter exists, the knocking at the door, the
Now, the girl, you got this for right now, right? I gotta go answer that. They're not gonna go away.
they are not. Not one of your favorites from the beginning. Seeing your receptionist hired on when things were reaching their fevered pitch, when the world was crumbling down around you, when you first heard about Werewolf Jesus, when you all stood face to face with a hit squad of lupines, when, well, when the spiritual mortgage of the shelter was taken from you. She has proven to be competent, if a bit out of touch. She has proven to be relatively spot on in nearly everything she does. Save, to quote the kids, her attitude is what some would recall as stank. Luckily, she hides it behind just enough thin veneer professionalism to never actually be, for it to be a fireable offense. Miss Green, there's a former client, clearly from the stench, here, and he's demanding to see you, and will not take no for an answer, and I truly am truly sorry, but I don't want to have to call the police, and I think that might be the only thing that pulls him back off the edge. He's kind of in a bad way.
Okay, I'll come up. You said former client.
Yeah, he's dressed all in army surplus and has his hood pulled all down. He smells to high heaven. I can't really say he smells, but he looks like he smells. I'm not going to get close enough to find out.
As soon as she gets that description, she starts to... Fuck. I think I know who that is. So she steps out, gently pulling the door shut behind her so that Ananda has her privacy and is not distracted. Starts heading for the front desk.
It has been easily 3 years as you skid to a halt there in the opening. vestibule area of the shelter. The last time you saw Mike Green, he was broken and bleeding, having fought to save and stake Simone. The last time you saw Mike Green, there was a doubt whether even his massive modern Viking self would be able to survive everything that happened to him. Seeing him standing there as an emissary of death causes your breath to catch in your throat. Not that you're actually breathing, but that feeling is much the same, as if some ghost has crossed the boundary into this world and dropped in for a spot of tea.
Gathering herself the best she can without giving too much away. Mike?
Miss Green.
To what do I owe the honor this evening?
He looks at your receptionist, and you could tell that he's tempted to menace her, but instead he takes a step closer to you. His towering form blocking out the light of from the overhead, and he leans in. Monika's at the Ethiopian place. He wants to see you. Seems as if Damien wants you. The moment that he does, closing that distance and getting close enough to you, you realize why he is not revealing his face. Stepping close to you, you realize that he is no longer completely in the land of the living, but he also isn't dead, as it were. There's a little known aspect that falls on every mortal that is in fact ghouled by kindred. Some blessings of the blood are transmuted. Some blessings of the blood, along with, unfortunately, based on the potency of the vitae, some of the curses as well. Mike's already mottled skin, his battle-hardened, toughened shell, with the vitae of the Nosferatu, has caused all sorts of other toughening. It's as if someone took his face and slid it along the concrete at about 40 miles an hour. The left side is contused and bruised. He looks as if he has been through the ringer. Yet, him standing as close as he is, you know that isn't what happened. There's very few living individuals, and not many unliving individuals that would have been able to do such a thing.
This is used to being the shortest person in the room anyway, so when he steps up on her, she doesn't take it as him intending to intimidate her. So basically, she just kind of meets his eyes and looks up at him. And taking all of that in about him, noticing the changes and kind of filing it away, and goes, okay. Well, the thing is, I have somebody in my office that I need to make sure is okay first before I go anyway.
I'll watch him.
So, okay. She looks at the receptionist. I'm giving him leave to stay in my office so that he doesn't scare the rest of the clients. But I know him. We have worked with him before. He is a good person. He has defended this place before with his own body. As a matter of fact, him and the person in my office will get along perfectly fine. I'm going to leave him there. Is that okay? Do you understand?
Yes, Miss Green. Your choice in associates has nothing to do with me, no matter how beneath your standing they are.
I'm glad we understand that. She smiles at her very politely and walks Mike to her office and tells Ananda what's going on. Hey, I need to pop out for a little bit to handle something. Uh, Not that this isn't absolutely of importance to me, but if I don't go answer whatever this is, I will have the sheriff after me, I'm assuming. So let's not do that. And Mike is going to stay with you. He's very protective and knows all about us. And she nods and then shuts them both in the office and goes to leave.
There is, as is always the case when alone or heading to certain places around the city, there are memories attached to it. The Ethiopian place is and has always been a place of relative peace, no matter how big and how much chaos you've all brought there. Because that is literally what it has been. You've all brought chaos to the Djibouti Cafe, repeatedly. And yet, and still, the staff of two have always treated you all with some measure of welcome as guests and clients and preferred visitors. The fact that you all found it because of Juanica all those many years ago doesn't escape you. And because of the importance and the velocity of which the night is moving, your exchange with Juanica ends with you both, you and Miriam, at the Route 66 motel. Saying that it's a motel is technically a lie, because the Route 66 is the prototype for out of the way places. It is clean enough and respectable enough that tourists would feel okay. It is clean enough and respectable enough that the neighborhood doesn't beset it with all manner of working girls and guys of the evening. They still visit, but it's not an in and out place for them. It's a place where you're going to have a client that's going to be there for a couple of hours. You have it for the entirety of the night. You're not going to have 5, 10, 15, 20 clients. You're going to have that one client that you're going to spend the next few hours with, and that's that. It's a reprieve. It's a slower, more respected establishment when it comes to those things. So traipsing across the city to get to the Route 66 is a testament to the many strata of Chicago. You can tell by the architecture, you can tell by the people who live in those areas that you've passed where you're going. It is just off of the 290. It is just past where most Chicagoans say is the west side, and by just past, it is literally just past where the west side starts to meld with the southwest side. It is literally 2 blocks off the 290, just down Caldwell. It is easy enough to get to, and yet it requires each of you all to traverse the city. You get a chance to see all of the economic strata of the neighborhoods and the people that live there, and there's not many positive feelings one has when looking at all of those many changes. You can watch as the property values soar and the cost of life does its absolute opposite. You can watch as blocks go from walkable to you wouldn't drive down them with your worst enemy's vehicle. You watch as the signs of personal vice are considered kitsch, to the signs of personal vice being a blight on the entire soul of Chicago. So when you get to the Route 66, after all this cloak and dagger, when you both arrive roughly at the same time, is there any conversation as you all disembark from your vehicles and make your way to the room?
Miriam will get just this wide-ass smile on her face. Wave. Genuinely happy to see her old friend.
Okay. I see you. Where you? I've been hearing lots of nice and lovely things about all of what you have going on. The thing is, though, have you noticed there's a weird bit of something going on in the city? Like, places that used to be safe are not now, and shit's crumbling. That's a little weird, isn't it?
Weird or human progress, one or the two. But I guess we're gonna find out what's going on here in just a moment.
There are
Before she
Mhm.
goes all the way in, she kind of puts her hand on Miriam's arm. I don't know if you noticed, but Lucio ain't been around lately, and his sister and his sister's best friend, they've been coming around the shelter, and I've been looking after him a little bit. I don't know if you found out or not, but they're like us now. Something happened to them. They didn't tell me the whole story, but yeah, they're not alive anymore.
I'm going to take a guess and say that probably sent him over the edge, and he's been off beating on cars for the last year. Just cars, right? Nothing else? He wouldn't be that stupid,
I
right?
hope. I would love to say I know that he wouldn't, but the Lucio I thought I knew would never just leave us to our own and disappear, so I guess I don't know much about him after all. I just wanted you to know, though, in case you see them around, that, yeah, that's how it is. But yeah, we should probably get a move on with this. And she knocks on the door to the.
There is a testament of quality that every door has. Whether that quality is the absence of it or it is a testament to someone who actually believes in security, the moment you knock on the door, there is no doubt in your mind that the entirety of the inside of that door is absolutely hollow. There's not that resounding thud of good old-fashioned solid wood. No, it wouldn't keep out a cold. You are 100% sure of that. And yet, it is in fact the out and only door to this particular room. The message that you all received is that one of your debts, one of your many accrued debts of leniency, is that you technically have not ever not been hounds. And while there's new kindred being forced into, drafted into, opting into, chasing the opportunity to protect the city as hounds, more specifically, Damien's hounds, the legacy and myth of what the shelter did as hounds, well, it is a sword and a shield to all of those active, engaged, present day hounds. And you've all heard them at various parties and gatherings. There's a chance, there was a time where the shelter, they were better than the fucking wolf pack. I heard that they rode the wolf pack out of town. No, get out of here. I heard that they burned down the entirety of Dalton because they tried to leave the tower. Oh, you ain't heard the half of it. I heard they went up to Milwaukee and they kicked the prince in front of and it just gets out of hand from there. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of what you all have done and did has been magnified in the retelling. And somebody always has a friend or an associate or knows someone. Well, yeah, my sire used to be one of the shelter. Really? You're sorry to be one of the shelter? Oh yeah, he was the first Malkavian part of the shelter. Oh yeah, my sire was the one that helped them take out Newberry. They didn't take out Newberry. Well, you know, just because they don't tell you they took out Newberry, let you know they did take out Newberry. Sometimes it's funny hearing what you've all done to find out what you actually managed to do. And sometimes it's a testament to the vanity of not only mankind, but kindred kind. As in the midst of all of your wild, rambling ways, without beating the horse overly much, it was fraught. You've all watched as portions of yourself and whole quadrants of your heart were torn free by your actions, by your inactions, by what you witnessed. And yet here you are, once more into the breach to pay off the debt of the past. So yeah, the door won't keep out anything whatsoever. So when you hear the slightly raised voice coming from within, it is impossible for you all to not know whose voice that is. Mr. Stryker, the porn king of the Midwest. Mr. Stryker, the Toreador heir to the throne, who, much like Prince Charles, has been long in waiting and light in doing. Mr. Stryker, the survivor and victor of the battles for the heir of Annabelle. Erzulie no longer a factor. Sophia Eyes no longer a factor. Several other Toreador who were positioning themselves to be Annabelle's right-hand person, to be riding her coattails into the success of stepping into her role when she was too long in the tooth. Out of almost 40 plus years of the battles of the Toreador, which have roamed and ranged and gotten out of hand, Brett Stryker is the only one left standing. Well, don't stand no ceremony. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in.
Miriam will push open the door.
And there he is, exactly as you were hoping never to actually have to see him. He is clearly preparing once more for a return to the stage. Maybe the rumors were true. Maybe he really was a former Chippensdale's dancer or some other Las Vegas review showboy. Because he's sitting there in a half a size too small silk shirt. His Sears sucker-styled suit jacket hanging over the lone chair in the room. His all but pompadour-esque mullet absorbing and radiating light in proper balance so that he strikes the absolute perfect pose, lightly lounging against what approximates the desk in this particular room. It also holds a TV. It is also facing the door instead of the bed, which lets you know what sort of room this actually is. It is such a pleasure to see you both. I'm so glad that Damien can come through. Come in, come in. I can't wait to give you what I need to give you.
I think I'm going to need some context because that just sounded wrong the way you said it.
Oh, come in. Don't stand out there and let all the neighbors see. What we need to do is between us adults. We want to come in and close that door.
Miriam will step in and close the door behind her.
That is so much better. It is more intimate. Just three of us alone, getting to know each other in the only way that matters. Sit, take a load off. It's going to take me a little bit to ramp up to speed. Make yourself comfortable. Can I get you a drink?
Aside from the bed, what kind of furnishings are there in there?
There's the bed and the chair that he's leaning against.
All right, well, keen. Miriam will just lounge on the bed then.
Come on in, Hestia. Don't be like that. It was so long ago.
Or
it was just the one time with me and all of your male friends.
poor Hess cannot get the absolute disgusted look off her face. She is trying, but her nose is wrinkled and crinkled and her lips are downturned and she is just like, oh, I hate this so much. And then comes in and just very delicately sits on a corner of the bed.
Miriam, I'm not sure if our good mutual friend here has told you, but she, I, and all of the very handsome men of your shelter did a little business together. They were crawling around in my nether regions, and to pay off the debt for being places they shouldn't have been without asking, they were responsible for the first and now annual ball of mine. I'm sure you've heard of it. I don't remember if I've invited you or not, but it's only the best of the best anyway, so it's not something that you may enjoy yourself with. Not many tattooists and would-be artists are there. It's more of the upwardly mobile social captains of industry. You understand, of course, right?
Oh, of course, but
Let's
no,
not
I
forget.
haven't heard that story.
Let's not forget that it's, yes, upwardly mobile members of society and the human press that showed up in helicopters last time.
Yes, and I'm so thankful that you helped Newberry get rid of the press. After all, if you all hadn't violently accosted a member of the Primogen, who knows what might have happened, what other thing they could have found if not for your distraction and violation of the traditions. But we'll water under the bridge. Water under the bridge. So, what do you all know about the Hellenes and the Menelaeans?
Tess will kind of head tilt, trying to place that, where she's heard.
Well, it's all Greek to me.
Very, very close. Greek and Carthaginian. At least that's what everybody believes. But, be that as it may, you don't know anything, which means I get to be a teacher. Did I tell you that when I was a child, I wanted to be a teacher? Of course, during my childhood, we didn't have all of these tests to rule out people and say that they were on the spectrum, off the spectrum. That was just something that the Germans did. Them and their Bauhaus movement. And anyway, I never became a teacher. Though technically I think now I do quantify as a teacher because I do a lovely Zumba class every Tuesday at Lakeshore Athletic Club. You guys should probably come down. You could use the socialization, I think. It'd be good for you. Plus, you as a Baham, I'm sure you could find members that would love to buy into your whole culty Kool-Aid thing.
It's not so much culty anymore.
You know who would say that?
A cultist?
Yes. Yes, indeed. A cultist would say that they weren't very culty. You know, there's a cult of circus performers, children who go to a sleepaway camp with very little actual adult supervision to further indoctrinate themselves, but they don't perform in the circus. They're all musicians and actors and improvisational people, and they pass it down generation to generation. And you know what they say? That they're not a cult. Yet most of their members are biracial Asian Caucasians who have a history of family members involved with the circus and have bent towards a specific German offshoot Christian model. But they're not a cult just because they indoctrinate their children every year. No, not a cult at all.
But that's beside the point.
It is and it isn't. I traded in a lot of favors to get someone relatively off the books to help me with this. You all are aware of some of my businesses, correct? You've been down the ram, and well, Miriam, I'm not sure whether Hestia has told you, but her and her friends loved going into my underground and crawling around in dark, confined spaces for hours on end.
Never were afraid to get a little dirty.
No, they weren't. And it would have been fine, but they wanted to go in the back door without telling me.
Well, that's just rude.
That's what I thought. Anyway.
His eyes have narrowed and they're shut.
Anyway, old moments shared aside, I really probably should thank you. Like, it really meant so very much that you all were honorable and upstanding and paid your debt in kind by making sure that all of my load was dispersed across the city. Without your help, I don't think that I could have reached as many of the members who are part of the Empyrean Society, because we're no longer a ball. The ball is the final moment of our social calendar, and all of that is solely due to your efforts, well, you and the boys' efforts in making sure that everyone received what I had to give them. So, the cult of Helena and the cult of Menelaus, called Hellenes and Menelaans. Doesn't matter when they or what they actually started. Yeah, from everybody says they're Carthaginian and they're Greek and they're this and they're that and so forth and so on, blah 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 blah. Unfortunately, the problem is this: just like the Rosicrucians, they hate each other. And while Jackson, being the surprisingly liberal-minded prince that he is, has allowed a certain non-radicalized religion to take hold in the city. I'm sure you've all seen how we have the Le Bon legacies, we have the pantheistic Orishas, we have the Baham once more. We have so many cults coming to the city to take root and carve out their small space and be welcomed as part of the tapestry of the city. Unfortunately, the Hellenes and the Menelaans absolutely hate each other, and they've been working forever, literally forever, well, at least since 1950 or so, which is, the Dark Ages, to tear and burn the other out of wherever they settle. Rumor has it that they started here and they've been here, but then again, rumor tells you that the One-Eyed King is still somewhere out there in the dark. No one's seen the One-Eyed King. Yeah, the tattoo was up everywhere, but I think they're all copycats. Especially you could tell with the choice of colors and where they're hanging, and they're almost as bad as the nouveaux, the black kid up there in Milwaukee that's been doing all the shows, that's been catching attention. You guys do know about the burgeoning art scene, right?
Tend to go with a little bit of a different style of art.
Me too, but I'm trying to broaden my palette, and I don't get it. I don't mind the breasts. I don't mind the vulva. I don't mind the phallic symbols worked into the pieces. I don't mind the titillation. I don't like that they serve beer. I managed to make the trek. Me and you wouldn't know them, but I knew them before they were some of anybody. They still aren't on the Empyrean part of the Empyrean Society or on the Empyrean Party's list, but there's this little martial artist down in Printers Row that we went north to catch a show, and it was fine. Not that I would ever drink while driving anyway, even if it could affect me. But we get there, and there's these two lovely statuesque hostesses that are giving presentations about this piece or that piece, and they disappear fairly quickly into the crowd. But anyway, they were fine, and there were tray upon tray of well-chosen, nice-yeared wine. To be expected. A little cheese, some crackers, finger food, basically. And then there is this, I shit you not, fucking Pilsner being offered to kindred of my standing. It was a fucking insult.
Well, I hope it was a really good fucking Pilsner.
No, it was a fucking Pilsner. Can you believe the unmitigated gall to offer a fucking Pilsner to the leader of the Empyrean Society? What a smack in the face.
Come now, that's not the worst thing you've ever had in your mouth, Brett.
That's what she said.
I couldn't answer that because I didn't bother to drink it. The idea, why would you even consider offering it? I wouldn't offer a Pilsner to you, and I don't even like you. When I offered a drink, I was deadly serious. There's a few call girls in the bathroom, in the bathtub right now. They should be waking up any minute now, but you don't need them to wait to take a little sip. I would at least give you something like that, something warm. Maybe a little used, but still tasty. They've lived life. They have the... You know what I found out is that humans, the mortal who are still living, I wish I knew this during my living days, but who you sleep with, you carry their DNA with you for years afterwards. Did you know that? I did not know that. It's a good thing I rarely slept with anybody because, you know, I was prime trade during my days. But it was interesting to know. It was interesting to find out. Anyway, they have a very nice bouquet. They don't use any of the garbage eau de toilettes. They actually have some nice eau de parfum. I believe it's called Youp, is what they said that it was called. It's red bottle. But anyway, so the cult of Helena and the cult of Menelaes, the Hellenes and Menelaeans, they've been trying to tear each other out. Supposedly they started here. I can't prove it. I don't want to prove it one way or the other. However, long story longer, they need to go. But if you take out one, if you convince one to leave, the other will grow in strength. And the reason why you're doing this is to pay off your debt that you owe to Damien, who owes me. And they will no longer be a consideration of a threat to the Empyrean Society. Simple for what you all as the shelter did. Don't forget, I was there the night that your friends accosted the wolf pack at Elysium. So I know that you all can get down and dirty with the best of them. So this is your opportunity. We need the H ones to go bye-bye. And we need the M ones to go bye-bye. And we need them to not consider that it was the Empyrean Society who had them move along. This makes sense. This is sensible. It's easy. It's right up your alley. It's nothing that you all haven't done before. And no one needs to know anything. Right?
So wait, you want them both to go? I thought you wanted one to stay.
Oh no, we need both of them to go because they are gearing up. Oh, I don't want to tell you because it really isn't any of your business, but I will tell you. So, and he looks at you, Miriam. Before Erzulie met her unfortunate end, there were rumors that she was building a network out there in the South Suburbs underneath the Prince Dracula that's out there. She carved out some domain and had a little bit of this and that, and she was working her magic because you all didn't finish the job and take out the Baham. But anyway, be that as it may, she embedded herself in the South Suburbs and into Gary, and unfortunately when she went missing, her little empire of Bahari glory worshipping the grand clit of Lilith split. What she left here in the city is only a tenth of the personages that she had pulled to her banner out there in the South Suburbs. When she stopped, thanks to all of the hard work put to bring her to justice, when she stopped and her little cult, which had grown into almost a full-fledged church, split, they were absorbed by the Hellenes and the Menelaeans, the H's and the M's. Part of what they absorbed touched on a lot of my businesses. What she absorbed and called to her and cultivated out there affects us here in the city to this day. I'm sure you've noticed that a bunch of who the former Baham were are no longer who the Baham are. Their judges, their lawyers, a lot of their everyday pervs are no longer part of what you've been doing. And the reason for that is because she left a poison pill for us to swallow if she was ever taken out. That poison pill were the alliances she was making with the H's and the M's as a doomsday device. And if they aren't stopped, if they aren't driven on, they're going to make my party look like shit. They're going to just make the Empyrean Society look like a fucking joke. And I cannot, as the right hand to the Toreador Primogen, look like shit.
Well, in that case, you might want to change your shirt. It's a little small.
Your shirt's a little small, Busty McGee. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was catty. I'm not myself when I sip on crack-laced blood. Forgive me. I'm sorry. That was uncalled for. It was.
No, it's all right. Sometimes you gotta let your hair down, right?
Well, you know what they say. Sex business in the part, sex party in the back. So, you all can say no. You can walk right out of that door tonight if you want. Or you can say yes. And while I won't owe you one, Damien won't owe me one. And if Damien doesn't owe me one, I'm sure he'll be a happier Damien for you guys, right?
I tend to not have any problems with him anyway.
Yeah, but what if he's cranky because he still owes me one, and I don't know, maybe I actually take you up on that invite that I turned down several months ago about coming to your little thing, and I bring Damien, and I can be persuasive under the right light. Oh, soaked in olive oil and glistening. Because you want to use olive oil because it's actually healthy and good for your skin. Even for us, it makes us look more alive. As long as you don't smear it on too thick. And you want not extra virgin because it doesn't have enough proteins in it. You want virginal so that it sticks and clings and it's not slippery and super oily, but just a light sheen. You can mix in a little glitter. It is great stuff. Great stuff. You don't want to use baby oil. Everyone thinks that it's baby oil, but baby oil is just too much. It gets everywhere. It'll have you sliding all over the place. Your socks don't feel right. But olive oil, it even on our dead skin, it absorbs into the pores. You know what? That reminds me. I probably need to get some more. Damn it. It is no fun when the fucking hookers have too much crack before you feed on them. Your mind just goes. And you think that it's over, just like when you do coke, but it stays with you. I mean, it really packs a punch.
I'm sure it does. But, how could I refuse the opportunity to get a few new recruits? She'll wink.
And if you do really good, I will make sure to not say anything bad about you for at least a month. 2 months.
Be still my beating heart.
It's so hard not to say anything bad about you all. You do realize that even today, present time, people are talking about all the great things you did. Oh, they saved a bunch of elders. Yeah, but you also killed an elder. You don't have to say that you did, but I already know. Everyone knows that you were responsible for Newberry going bye-bye. You don't have to admit it. You don't have to say anything, but we know. Everyone forgets that you all fucked over Chinatown to the point where the Wan Kwai have been staging terrorist attacks against us this entire time. If not for Damien and Prince Jackson keeping it out of the public zeitgeist, people would think that he couldn't rule, that he was a joke. And we know it's because of you. If not for your having left your mark on the mafia of Chicago going back generations, the turf wars that are still being fought tonight wouldn't be being fought. And yet you have all of these stupid little children and neonates talking about how fucking great you were. So forgive me. I get a little catty. I get a little pissy when I hear about all the great, wonderful things of the shelter, and they can't even say who was actually a fucking member of the shelter. You know what I heard the other day?
What did you hear?
I heard, and this is, I heard that the shelter opened up a franchise in every city from here to New Orleans. Chaos on demand. Sticking it to the tower every step of the way. Are you fucking serious?
That's a new one. I hadn't heard that one.
Do you see why it's so hard not to say anything bad about you guys? People don't even know who you individually are. But your legend is running rampant. Someone's got to stop the foolishness. Someone's got to stop the fake news. But it won't be me.
Is
But
it
next
fake
time-
news?
They've never said that
Or
you were
is
part
it-
of the shelter.
Or is it alternative facts?
Whatever it is. And no, I'm not jealous I wasn't connected with the shelter. Even though the shelter wouldn't exist without me. If you all hadn't tried going through my back door and helping me set the framework for what the Empyrean Society could be, you wouldn't have been exposed to the kindred you were exposed to. You wouldn't have been able to build your legacy as large as it was. So no, I don't want to be part of the shelter, but, you know, give me the respect of being the filth beetle, at least.
Well, moonlight's burning. We should probably go.
Yes, you should. They should be waking up any minute now. It's so hard these days. They were back in my day. Women of the night, men of the night. They had a certain constitution, a certain toughness, and they've been out for the last hour. Normally, that little bit of sip would have only kept them down 10, 15, maybe a half an hour. But they've been out for an hour. You guys should probably go. They'll be waking up any minute now. Unless, of course, you got time to stay a little bit. You know, a threesome's fun, but a quintuplet, that's just amazing.
Let's get Spot from the bed and head to.
So, addresses in hand, contacts exchanged in regards to whom is whom between the H's and the N's, and where they're typically could be found and what have you, as you all make it out of the motel room, heading to wherever it is that you're heading. It is 34 after the hour. Let's take a quick 10 and be back here at 44 after the hour. Make it an even 45, and then we'll hit the ground running with whatever it is that you all have planned for how best to ameliorate Mr. Stryker's concerns.
Sounds like a plan.
Back once more.
Hello.
Like, hello. Back once more. Is everybody back? We're still sipping, supping, and breaking. Nope. Everybody's still off. While everybody's off, Miriam wasn't there as a character, but it has been, as of today, actually, it has been 3 years and 9 months since the shelter as a coterie were preparing to go to the first inaugural Empyrean ball. Erzulie helped Hestia dress for the party, actually. She also brought relatively gently used designer ensembles for the other members of the coterie. And the opening of that particular episode was them all getting ready with Erzulie showing up with stylish ensembles for everyone, helping everyone dress to impress, even though they were officially just the hired help for the Imperium Ball. They got a pity invite for doing Stryker's dirty work to deliver the inventories as a sign of his intelligence. And not intelligence in terms of IQ, but his intelligence in regards to knowing where certain influential kindred laid their heads. He had them deliver the invitations to those kindred actual havens.
Keen.
So yeah.
So once they get, I guess, which address should we go to first? M or H? And do we want to... How do we want to do it?
Good question. Alphabetical order, H then M.
Sure, that works.
You know, I had a feeling that you all would go there first. The cult of Helena is slightly more respected in hushed tones around the city. Predominantly because the cult of Helena is predominantly Toreador leaning. Most of their notable members are lesser run or third place Toreador. Bunch of this, bunch of that, bunch of no names who are seeking to make a name and have a fellowship in a society and build themselves a level of insulated and isolated protection. They also often remark how Portia very much looks like Helena. Portia looks like Helena if she'd been born in modern times. Portia, the same little small, unimportant neonate who somehow manages to always get bumped back into Critias's education classes and is always one of the few to survive Critias's re-education classes. They're outside of the rumored members of the shelter, like that's a real thing. Portia is the only kindred who's ever actually survived. And unlike the mythological shelter, she survived multiple classes. At least that's what everyone says, but everyone knows that's also not true. Critias doesn't let anyone who's sentenced to his re-education survive. There's always a reason that someone transgresses or breaks decorum or challenges him or what have you. Everyone knows being sent to Critias's re-education class is literally a long way around with extra steps of being blood hunted in private. The cult of Helena, they're actually based out of the bank building in Westtown. And by bank building, it is the former First National Bank of Chicago that went defunct during the railroad wars during the late 1900s. But they've taken it as their own, and while nominally it's just a public outreach facility, those in the know understand that this is their grand temple. This is where they worship. This is where they dedicate themselves to an aesthetic beauty manifest both in presence and practice on a nightly basis. And adding insult to injury, the leader of the cult of Helena is a 6'5", 200-pound Slavic woman who goes by the name of Claire. Claire Tiffany, rumored child of rumored child of rumored child of nobody important from the middle of nowhere who was hoping to make a name for herself in Chicago. Well, that's what rumor says. Truth of the matter is, Claire is not exactly her real name. Truth of the matter is, Claire isn't even actually Toreador. Truth of the matter is, Claire is one of the few children of the Voivod. So as you all arrive, how's the drive? What did you guys discuss, if anything? Or you just put the music on and drive separate cars, or you drive together? How do you guys get there?
Let's see, probably take the same vehicle and chit-chat and catch up about the last year.
Better. As that also would be the way to pick which location and our potential game plan for this whole situation. So I'm sure as they're in the car, Hess would look at Miriam. You know he's full of shit, right? Everything he said, all double entendre. There are some things he hinted at that may have happened, but the way he said them is not how they went down. He gets on my last fucking nerve, that one. But the thing is, he's asking for this favor so that Damien can get out of debt with him. My thing is, there's a small, tiny part of me that wants to aim them both at him and take him out, but that's not what we were sent to do. So I will defer to your judgment in this. What do we want to do?
Well, I just assume most men are full of shit, so that makes life easier. But as far as who and what and why and how, it really depends on the membership of the groups. Like, I probably know some of them.
The thing is, I think we can't do the strut in, we're the shelter, get the fuck out thing. One, we don't have the numbers for that anymore. Two, it's kind of rude and it would probably cause more problems. Strong arming them in any way, shape, or form, because they're already probably used to that with the other group.
Well,
So
yeah.
maybe honey over vinegar?
And, consider the territory they're in.
True. So there's that. So, like you said, honey definitely over vinegar. But how do we offer said honey? What are we hoping to, like, hey, so this place ain't the best for you guys. We just want to give you a heads up. How about moving yourself back towards Dalton? Or, like, what do we do? Which way are we going?
Well, again, it really depends on the membership. Like, well, fuck. So, it also depends on who took over. Like, not everyone's going to be as chill as I am. But I guess for now, honey, and we'll see who's there and who can be swayed, I guess. It's weird to be coming up with a plan. We usually just react to things.
Well, the more reactive members of our group are in short supply right now.
I mean,
Present
fair.
company included.
All right. So yeah.
But at least we have the past to fall back on if the plan goes sideways. We fall back on what we know. Fuck them
run
up.
away. Runaway works too. Just throwing that out there.
So, you all move into the West Town area, just across the river from the loop, just north of the 290, and stretching from the river all the way to Ogden, basically. So, you know, they're over by Adams, Monroe, Madison, Randolph area. All of that is West Town. And the bank is actually, well, the former bank is actually located there just off of Racine. And a block and a half short of Randolph. It is roughly in the middle of nowhere. It is problematically easy to get everywhere, and a melting pot for soon to be rich and soon to be very, very poor. And as you all get into the area, which would in any other city would be considered Skid Row and up and coming both at once. It's the place where the Buppies, the Yuppies, and the like party hard and rest harder. It's the place where the down and out can blend in with the hipsters, and where the hipsters very much look as if they are in fact houseless, homeless, and otherwise indigent. Which makes when you all arrive at the bank building, it's almost 3-story ochre brick facade, stained glass windows, and a calling back to the glory days of weird, strange, and artisanally crafted architecture stand out. It's none of the mech townhomes that go up made of tissue paper and someone's idea of a good dream. It is not the sturdy, squat Chicago bungalow. It is not the huge Chicago graystone or brownstone tenement. It is not one of the many frame houses that stretch all through the south and far west side. No, this is a temple to the idea of capitalism turned into a temple for the idea and pursuit of beauty.
Before they get out of the car, Hess looks at Miriam. I just had a thought. I remembered whose domain this is. This is an Nosferatu Primogen's domain. And they're Toreadors, or a Toreador-like situation. Maybe that can be our cat's paw to get them out of here.
Maybe. There are worse things. Keep that in your back pocket.
Finding parking is surprisingly easy for the amount of congestion on the streets. It's almost as if someone's coming and going every few minutes. Miriam, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll a Wits plus Streetwise for me? You've seen this sort of behavior and activity before. You're not exactly sure where, but it strikes a on the tip of your tongue. Like this is that thing. You know they this is the come on, help me with it. That's what strikes her as she sees. Every couple of minutes there's a car that's finding parking, and there's another car or another SUV or a bike further down leaving. The parking here shouldn't be as easy as it is. Yet it is. In fact, very easy.
It all seems very coordinated.
Yes.
Well, I guess we will park. Before we get out, she'll tell Hess, let's just sit here for a few minutes. I want to watch and see if there's anyone coming by that I recognize.
Would you be so kind to go
Okay.
Go on. Go on, Hess, you're saying?
No, she agrees. She's like, oh, okay, that sounds good.
Do you leave the car off, or do you turn it on, or do you, leave it idling?
We will turn it off.
Okay, that'll give you a small bonus, so let's go. So as you all sit and watch the surprisingly consistent comings and goings, it is hard to shake the idea that you guys are Cagney and Lacey, Carter and Wang, or some other buddy cops watching a stakeout. The only thing missing are the foul-smelling sandwiches and donuts and cans of soda and bottles lying around your cramped-in van space with a floral nursery company on the side. As you all sit, watch the comings and goings, hoping to spy or spot someone or something that you've all recognized before. It is ridiculously obvious. You see a group of 4 or 5 clearly off work businessmen heading towards the bank building. You see another group of clear suburbanite tourists to the city, making their way to the bank building. The first little tickle and twinge of notice, like, yeah, businessmen are easy enough to come by, and you're sure that, yeah, they definitely look like faces and build. In fact, you know that the second tallest member of that first group has a tattoo of a butterfly right at the entry to the crevice heading into the gluteuses. You know that the shortest one has a a picture, a tattoo of SpongeBob going from the inside of the bicep down past the armpit with the legs wrapped around his right nipple. You know that the group of suburbanites heading towards the bank building, that the redhead actually has a tramp stamp that he got on a dare to Burning Man. He thought it was temporary. He thought that it was supposed to fade. He didn't realize that they used the wrong ink, and unlike most other tattoos that have faded over time, his has gotten darker. You recognize a rabbi who was, during their youth, a dancer down at the Succubus, who moonlights when he's able to escape his synagogue and still dances at the Succubus.
Well, this is definitely the right place. I recognize 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No. Yeah, I recognize a lot of them.
So does Hestia. She recognized one of them. She was in a stall with a small town sports hero. And in the stall next to her, Dizzy was having her way with one of his friends. She recognizes those aquamarine eyes even from a distance. Bristly, she'll never forget. She sent him home with the best night of his life, and a moment that he will never remember, because she had to help make him forget as violently as possible, because Dizzy lost her shit in the stall right next door, eviscerating her victim, causing all sorts of issues that particular night. And there he is, in the midst of the other individuals that Miriam recognizes as suburbanites, clearly from the south suburbs, somewhere far out there just past the city lights.
Look, I recognize at least one myself. Shit. So what are they all doing here? Like, are they addicted or something?
So you could say that. Remember way back when we first met that one guy who was like, just followed me home, so to speak?
Oh yeah, that guy. One that really wanted to
Yeah,
die, that guy.
yeah. Fertile seeds and all that. Welcome to that times 10. Maybe with a little bit less death wish.
I hate to think I got that one guy addicted to this because I don't know whether he had ever had that before me, and now here he is. Shit.
Yeah, we recruit from all walks. Sometimes it's just as simple as that business guy. We'll call him SpongeBob. Like, he, alpha male at work, wants to be dominated by night. And that kind of leads into things. Sometimes it's just a rough life, and, you learn rough life when things are soft. It seems weird.
Do you see the one with the really pretty blue eyes?
Yeah. Oh, those are pretty eyes.
And I'm almost assured he had never had anything like what we offered until that night. He was some sort of glory days baseball star minor league guy, him and his friend, and things happened. And when I left him, he had a very big smile on his face but couldn't remember anything as far as I knew. So now I'm almost sure that he has been looking for that high ever since, and it's my fucking fault.
Miriam will shrug one shoulder, like, do people remember childhood trauma that leads them into stuff like this? No. Don't blame yourself. Shit happens. But,
Nice to think
as far as the baseball minor league thing, yeah, that doesn't shock me either. We like people in powerful positions. It gives us power by association.
But yeah. Okay, so now that we know we recognize some of them, what do we do about it? Do we attempt to lure them back? This is more your realm than mine.
Let me see if I can get a couple of them over here. I'll step out of the car and leave the door open and step up, and it's like, hey yo, butterfly!
You know that thing that should never be mentioned? That dirty, dark secret that you're kind of proud of, that you're able to keep to yourself and only certain people know that it exists. It's not a guilty pleasure, but it is definitely something that twinges that nerve. A dirty, dark secret that people will have considerations and look, and yet even as you try to hide it, it defines you. And when you say, hey, butterfly, of course, yes, he freezes in his steps and kind of looks over his shoulder, using it as shield, but also one of the Amazonian women who are a few steps past them, moving away from you, but past them, heading towards the bank building. Stop. Look, past him, and literally does the whole with her finger, and you recognize who she is as well.
Miriam will just smile and wave.
And her smile brightens up, and you can see him visibly relax and exhale, like, whew, That was a close one as she walks over happily. Her bodycon dress hugging every curve. And hugging as if it's holding on for dear life as her curves push them to the limit of their fortitude. The orange is never a color that most people can wear. Yet on her it brings out her the undertones of her complexion, causes her skin to seem to glow, and it is just enough of a shade difference from where she's dyed her hair as to make her eyes pop. A deep cold brewed coffee dark that's almost black, yet in with the light and the dress and the jewelry, it causes them to dance with a hidden titillation that would not otherwise be there. I don't believe that we've met. Hi.
Hello. I thought I recognized you from some of the
Really?
events up in Chicago.
Oh my god, you don't seem like the sort to watch those sorts of movies. And she holds her eyes.
Not movies. Other dens.
Oh, you've been to a few of the live events? Oh my god. It's always so nice to meet a fan. Hello. And she extends her hand, the middle fingers joining together, the index and pinky forming almost horns as she awaits what's supposed to happen next.
Of course, the appropriate signals back.
And she smiles as if this is a rom-com meet night. You just happen to be the crazy manic pixie date that's going to change her existence as she smiles at you and looks towards the car and the back. Oh, you clearly have a type. So, tell me about yourself. You know me. What?
I'm surprised you don't remember me.
I'm sorry. It's been a rough few years. I've been managing to stay busy. I only do one show a week these days, but you know, it pays the bills and keeps the Jaguar in gas.
Of course. She'll smile and put her hand lightly on the girl's shoulder. My name's Miriam. Ashton.
Hi, Miriam. You look extraordinarily familiar now that I think about it. Margolis! She yells back, and the shorter, slightly less voluptuous woman begins coming over. She's a friend of the guy that I got you the car from. Her? I thought you said that he was like big bad Idris Elba Jamaican African. Girl, that was years ago. I'm sure he looks nothing like that. You know what happens once we're done with. But she was friends with him. How can we help you to help us, Miriam? We have a few things that we need to do, but I'm sure that we have more than enough time to perhaps get to know each other.
I've been missing the events up in Chicago since everything seemed to fall apart and split. I heard there was similar entertainment here.
Oh, this? I'm not... It's nothing like the full-fledged shows or the discos, but it's very, very close. It does require a small bit of less exaltation, but more involvement. Are you sure this is your thing? Like, it wasn't his thing.
No, it wasn't, was it?
No, he, I miss him. Yeah, I heard your friend was down in New Orleans. No, I hate to say this. I hate to admit this. And we know that we should never go chasing behind anybody, but I went to look. And New Orleans is not what it once was. I remember 7 years ago when I was 16 going to New Orleans, and just the sheer love. And well, yeah, everyone says you want to go down during Mardi Gras, but we went down during the off season, and it was such a blast. And while I didn't get any beads, not officially, I got more than my fair share for a little treat. They call it a lag nap. It's a little extra, and I got more than a little lag nap, if you know what I mean.
Delightful.
Is your friend going to join us, or is she shy? I don't mind shy.
She is quite on the shy side. She's only been to one or two of the tamest of the tame.
Oh, well, then she'll fit right in. There's a lot of newcomers tonight. We are the upper members of the service. Well, I'll just come right out and say it. Not that it matters. You're not going to ever know anyone's real name. But Claire, who used to be called Clarence, is leading us in an exaltation in preparation for allowing the divine to move through them to help vanquish one of... Well, 3 weeks ago, these others started with a online attack against us. First, it started with the whole denouncing of the idea of Lilith, which, as you know, is a no-no. Lilith is divine, and the sheer unmitigated gall of them to do that sent everyone into a tizzy. And
now, is this the faction that split off when everything imploded?
not split off. We are the outcropping. Because, okay, look, I don't want to seem like I'm trying to convince you or to join what we do. But, do you remember how as a flower growing in the garden, as something that was growing into what you would become, growing into your divine soul through an asceticism based on application?
Yes.
What happens when a tree is felled? What happens to that forest? Now, if it's unguarded, if there is no caretaker, it grows wild and it threatens to kill itself by its overgrowth, which is unfortunately what happened with what we had going before. This is about the beauty and the natural flow of things. Instead of trying to bonsai someone into the wrong shape, it allows it to grow as it will in appreciation of the natural beauty inherent in all things. And of course, occasionally there needs to be a cross-cutting, a cross-blaze, a pruning back, not a steady, consistent, constant manipulation of what's there, but an expression of the natural beauty of the world that we inhabit. Oh, look at me. I sound like a preacher. I'm sorry. That's not...
No, you're quite all right. In fact, I believe that even would make sense to my dear friend here. She did study botany.
While all this has been going on, Hess has been eyeing the Lincoln down the block because she knows with no hint of doubt that who that belonged to, and she's looking at the women and then looking back at the Lincoln. Leans her head out the window. You said you brought that from a big black guy?
Yeah, well, it wasn't bought, but I saw this girl. So, you're not a member of the police, right? You're off duty, right? If you are.
No, I'm not a police officer by any means. It just looks a lot like somebody I know's car.
Well, I don't think so. I don't think so, but maybe, but it's not. I don't know, about 6 months ago, I was at this little club out in Dalton. There was this little girl. Oh my God, she couldn't have been anything older than, I don't know, maybe 20, 21. Cute face, lovely hair. But she was there with this other tall black lady. I think they said she was the owner or something. And they were all hush hush. And then they would go into this little room that had like mirrors all over the outside of it. It blended in. And if you didn't know it was there, I swear to God, it was invisible. But I saw them leaving and I saw them going in there for a little, you know. And she takes both hands and makes a V, and so you know what they were doing in there. That's the only reason why they would need a special room by themselves. I mean, but anyway, I go out for a smoke, and the girl is running back to the car to grab something, and I could swear that it was my friend's car. And I always kept a spare, since I haven't seen him in so long, and it kind of helped me feel like, even though he decided to go out for milk and never come back, it helped me feel like he was still here with us. And I knew it couldn't be my friend's car because you know, it's just a classic antique car. I'm sure that it's hundreds of thousands of them somewhere out there. But I go to the car, and on a whim, I didn't think it was. I try the key, and you know, it's neat. Like, his car needed 2 keys, one for the door and one to start it. And I have a spare set because, you know, he wanted me occasionally to drop it off wherever he told me to, or he'd need his spare, and anyway. So I tried the door lock, and it works. And I'm thinking that maybe it's just a coincidence. Maybe they all use the same key. But the door opens the same way. It opens the wrong way out into traffic. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe that's just nothing. And so I slide in and I try the ignition key. And I shit you not, it starts right up. It sounds like he's purring in my ear. Like you can feel him by sitting in the car. It's like he's with you again. And so I drove off. I expected either him or his new little girlfriend to pop up and get the car back. It's not like he could forget where I stayed or where I lived, but he didn't come. And then it got painful hearing him, feeling him close, and knowing that he wouldn't come, not even for his car. So I gave him Margulies. We're gonna get the title transferred eventually, but somehow there's a in perpetuity and perpetualness title on the car. It's passed down from one member of the what was it, Margulies? Oh yeah, the title guy said it belongs to a foundation, a Harris Varos foundation.
Hess looks at Miriam pointedly and smirks.
Haros Far. That sound familiar, doesn't it? Isn't that in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, somewhere on the north side, I think. We found that it's tied to some lawyer, for some foundation, but no one's come asking for it. So until it is, it's still drivable. We keep the plate and stickers up to date.
Gets out of the car and takes a business card out of her pocket and writes her name. I mean, her name's already on it, but she writes, office hours and hands it to Margulis. If you ever want the deed signed here, and she hands her the card. That is my friend Simone's card, but I don't want it back. You can keep it.
Oh my God, you knew him too? Were you a friend?
For a very long time, yes.
Oh. Who was the girl? Is she a new friend? Is the network back up and running? Is there a chance that we could hang out?
I am attempting to rebuild a network.
Oh my God! You and some. Oh! It's gonna be. It would be so. You know what? Let me introduce you to around. Come on. We had. Do you know his? She used to call herself the baby mama, the bottom bitch, Scholastica. She is here. She's been trying to keep us all connected because you know how Africans are. But she's trying to keep us all connected, and oh my God, you guys! Oh, and you're gonna get the. When's the last time you talked to him?
She smiles sadly. It's been more than a year or two.
Oh.
He is very much the Rolling Stone, disappears, wants to pops back up. I think this time he's going to have a little bit of a harder time finding his way back out. So.
Oh my God, it's gonna be so great. I even did some research. Do you know that, like, as a Nigerian, like, it's in his culture to have multiple wives, even, let alone just girlfriends. And oh my God, I don't say girlfriend easily, but we were women and we were friends. So oh my God, we have so much. And she takes your hand as if you are a long lost sister. Like, oh my God. And Miriam, and she kisses your cheek and pulls you into it. Oh, she's literally vibrating with the fantastical idea of getting the Sorochi network back up and running.
I will actually, like, purr into her ear.
Oh my goodness, this is gonna be so great. And you get wait, is that the reason why you guys are here? Are you gonna join?
Think of it more as a getting to know you event.
Okay, that's fine. But you're gonna get the network back up and running, right? We'll be able to, like, do what we used to do.
Hopefully.
Storyteller, I know Simone used to keep, like, a lot of secrets, but there were some things that I'm privy to. How much of this Sorochi network was I privy to, either by finding out on my own or him just slipping up and telling me things?
That's a little harder to say. Because you all did do your best to not hunt together. You did your best to not, but you also saw how the fallout of his hunting and how he did it opened the gateway for Forcipules. So I'm sure that a little research on Hestia's part was done, a little trying to shore up the defense to keep that from ever happening. Someone so in love that they don't know the difference between lust and physical need, that they didn't know the difference between being fed upon and the most lingering of kisses being applied repeatedly afterwards. Someone willing to give away their immortal souls for just another hit, just another session, just another moment.
Yeah, because I remember that at points we used to tease him a little bit about another date or who's this one, and the amount of women or partners that he had coming in and out of his life. So there was that, and then with the Forcipulis thing, having learned not all the names because there were so many, but like the main ones and the main positions and stuff, maybe like that they would have played. It's just that she's never had faces to put to names. So now this is making sense to her. And again, she doesn't want to burst anybody's bubble. She's trying her best not to break their heart. But the fact that she knows that Simone is more than likely never coming back for them is a little bit fraught.
That's an interesting turn of a phrase. It's an interesting moment. Twofold. Miriam, as you, Hestia, these two remnants, well, one remnant and one wannabe remnant of the Sorochi network, and where it interplayed and interlocked with the Bahari, where it interlocked with the Baham. As you all enter into this temple of beauty, that's what it is. It is, without a shadow of a doubt, the literal most physical representation of what the Toreador believe themselves to be. Passionate works of art given flesh. And the width and breadth of what that art means and what quantifies as art being as varied and wide as the constellations that circle the planet. All made manifest, all given time and space, run through with the ideology of the Baham, the children of Lilith. All run through with the love-bombing freedom of being your best and worst selves. That there's nothing guilty about pleasure. And so this is not a guilty pleasure. This is a passion. This is a movement to change the face of things so that these moments that others won't understand. This isolation here is not about protecting any secrets. It is to provide the safety to be. And the moment you all enter into this temple, this former synagogue of capitalism, this former shrine towards American exceptionalism, now made a temple dedicated to the idea of art, which unfortunately includes capitalistic ventures as well. The full width and breadth of things that can be done artistically represented in the windows, in the decor, in the wide width and swath of the people gathered. And as you all spy the statuesque Nordic blonde, dressed in a shift that leaves very little to the imagination, even as it actually graphically shows very little. Standing at her left hand, dressed in what could be best be considered a sexy bodyguard cosplay, as Alexander. Mingling amongst the crowd are several faces that you all recognize from the original Imperium. Moving and mingling through the crowd are several faces that you've seen in various places through your sojourn in the South Suburbs, offering vintages clearly laced with the very real essence of life, the blood itself, are various waiters and servers that you've all seen in various places across the city. And this is literally coming home to the remnants of memory. This is literally stepping back in time to bullets whizzing overhead with Miriam crawling from pew to attend and triage one of the fallen. This is literally being awash in the remnants of View and Carrere's church members as you all entered. This is literally seeing the faces of the college kids that were associating with Dizzy. This is literally seeing some of the fleeing thin blood from the assault on the shelter. Every 1 out of 5 of the gathered 70 plus and still growing members is a face from some moment of each of your pasts. And it gets worse, because as you all are taking it in, with Margulies and her friend twittering and giggling and happy with what might be coming next, Miriam, there's a touch on your shoulder that you have not felt in years. Strong, stable, surprisingly dangerous. And then you hear the smoke-riddled voice coming through, lungs that have not inhaled in decades. I knew I left the business in good hands. Many people called her the Painted Lady. Many people called her hideous. But you knew her as the mistress of the coil. You knew her as Edith. You knew her as the person who, even in her most fraught moment of existence, when the walls were crashing down around the Bahari, sent you to the shelter so that you might remain safe, pointed you in the direction of them, as you were not truly a member of the worshipfulness, but you are also not an outsider.
Miriam will. Oh, go ahead.
No, go on.
Miriam will not look back behind her, but reach up and gently squeeze the hand on her shoulder. Good evening, madam.
And who are your friends? And as that lays there before us, I'd like to thank you all for a lovely touch base with where the sanctuary were. And I look forward to seeing you all next time. For now, good night, everybody.
Good night.
For her today, this is a walk down memory lane that I did what?